Hi, AJ. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time to come here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, right in the middle of your Vipassana practice. I do want to talk about this and the communication that we had yesterday because that was one of the things that got me really curious. You basically, I find it's like so fitting to start this interview with this because you set really strong boundary on me. You said, "Hey, my phone time is coming to an end. Can we agree on this?" And that was just such a beautiful way of saying that, hey, I am organizing my life in a way that is, very optimal for me. And I was like, this guy's got it figured, like he's like setting this strong boundary on me. Do you do that often? And is that kind of like your attitude to life and, just setting the boundaries like that? Is that easy for you?
I do it more because I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of compensating for the time that I haven't done that. Because most of my life I was adjusting and adapting to everybody else around me, and that led to a lot of turmoil and chaos in my life. And once I realized, the more I establish those boundaries right away, it's whether it's with my partners, with friends, with colleagues, professional relationships, every single thing, every single relationship requires that boundary to be set. And once I recognize that, now especially since I'm in this vipassana and I'm consciously following my breath at the moment that we're talking right now, it's just maintaining that uninterrupted string of awareness throughout the time. So I dedicated my mornings to work and professional stuff, and then in the afternoons for the next 10 days I'm meditating for at least 10 hours.
Wow.
So that's and that boundaries need to be established when that's happening, because there are a lot of communications and people are trying to contact you in that moment, and then seeing, okay, this aligns with my mission and this does not, and that's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we'll dive into a lot of this stuff that you just said a lot deeper. I'm so curious about your life and what you do, and yeah, just sharing that with people. I find you truly fascinating, just scrolling through your Instagram and seeing you as a beautiful, composed human being, and you even refer to yourself as a, optimized human or like superhuman. It's this kind of like notion. So I was thinking of ways to introduce you, and one of the things that like really caught my eye was you are a high performance expert who hates the gym. That's how you refer to yourself in one of your posts. Um, I just wonder, um, why do you do what you do? I guess that's my very first question, like why do you have this like view of human performance and the way of live our lives, even the things that you just shared with us, and yeah, what's your kind of like worldview, and yeah, I guess what brought you to where you are?
That's a loaded question.
Just tell us the whole story.
Okay, I'll boil it down as
Be-
promptly as I can.
beautiful.
So, to be honest with you, it happened completely organically. When I was a child, I suffered a lot from ill health. I had kidney stones at the age of 13. I had heart issues. I suffered from allergic asthma, from mold poisoning. I was on antibiotics for about 5 years straight. So, as you can imagine, my immune system was annihilated. My body was shot, and I simply did not experience the childhood that I would have liked to experience.
Wow.
And that obviously transitioned and carried through into my adulthood, early adulthood, and I felt the consequences of those illnesses, of antibiotics. My immune system was not supporting me in a way that it's supposed to. So first entry, layer of entry, that's actually when I was transitioning from Lithuania. I moved out to the U.S. and I was in the U.S. military, and I figured, hey, I want to take charge of this meat suit because if I'm fit, I'm going to be healthy, right? So fitness was the entry point to discover that.
Beautiful.
And I so happened to realize that when I was the fittest I've ever been, I was the most unhealthy I've ever been as well. Because looking good on the outside does not necessarily mean that you're healthy on the inside. And that's, I mean, the magazine covers that we see and all that. Those people, those men, they're libidoless. Their testosterone is at the bottom because they should look like sex symbols on the magazine covers, but in reality, they're not. They feel like crap. So
Yeah.
just dehydrated and and feel shitty. So once I recognized that hey, looking good and feeling good are mutually exclusive, I started digging into the next layer of that was nutrition. So I discovered that,
Right.
and I understood the importance of healthy nutrition and how what we put into our bodies is information. A lot of people take food and they treat it as a math equation for calories in, calories out. That's not how it works. It's more than that. It's information, truly. So that was the second layer. And then since I was in the military, I developed mild insomnia. So I was trying to figure that layer out. And then again, sleep optimization joined me. Then stress management through meditation. I discovered meditation, and then it was layers and layers of that, and that allowed me to arrive to the practice that I have today. Then it was environment, because I suffer from mold toxicity. I remember that. How do I deal with that as well? And how do we optimize our environment? And then it was mindset. So stuff that subconscious patterns that I recognized that were not serving me. Working through those when I was studying my master's practitioner's course in NLP, that's when I realized, oh, interesting. I have all these beliefs and systems and that are unconsciously programmed into my mind that I want to overcome.
Totally.
So that is my journey in short, and ultimately we need more humans that are high performing, that are able to tap into their full potential. And once we have more of those humans who are able to reach that high performance and sustain it, I mean, it's a trickle-down effect. It affects your family, it affects your colleagues, it affects everyone around you. So it's a beautiful thing to be an optimized human. And I'm not saying so being an optimized human, and that's the branding behind it, right? I strive to be that optimized human. I'm still on the journey. I'm still on the path of being that. I'm not 100%. I don't have 100% it all figured out, and that's a beautiful thing. That there's no arrival. There's always that development and finding what works, what doesn't. And at the end of the day, now I was able to boil down certain principles that apply across the board to every single human.
Amazing.
From health, mindset, environment standpoint.
Amazing. Thank you. You talked about the initial image that you had about your, the health and the body and wanting to look healthy, wanting to look ripped, wanting to look fit. There is a lot of this going on in the world. Basically the body image idea and, the society kind of like pushing us to look certain way, to buy certain things, to eat certain things, to do certain things. And I see this a lot also with the burnout sort of community, where people just want to be perfect or they want to be a certain way. And then, like you also talked about this kind of like connection to your own childhood where you suffered from, certain, I guess, things that made you feel weaker, right, and created perhaps, this idea of some kind of a shame around your body, or the idea that you're just not there where you would like to be. I guess like my question around this is that how can people discern whether they are optimizing their body, with this truth of wanting to be healthy versus just trying to kind of like overcompensate for some insecurity that they might have even from childhood?
Oof, that goes deep. That's the thing. That's a problem that most of us choose the things we're not capable of seeing the depth and or simply we just choose the things that have been pushed onto us by society. And at a certain, even in marketing, for example, there are layers of sophistication. So the guy Eugene Schwartz identified those 5 layers, and at level 5, to sell to that person, you just have to break down every single layer of how is that going to benefit them. And it's very, again, depends on our personality types and all that as well. But client, really customer sophistication, and most of us, unfortunately, are not sophisticated to recognize that what we're buying is not actually going to help us long term. But again, then the other side of that coin is that we need to start somewhere. And mostly people who find me, ultimately, they have gone through personal trainers, nutritionists, stuff like that. And then they realize that, hey, this is not sustainable. Well, that approach is not really sustainable. So how do I actually integrate that into my life? Because everybody can overthrow their lifestyle with health, fitness, what have you, anything. But integrating that into your life, that's a completely different animal. So back to knowing where to start, it's tough. We never do. But we ultimately, hopefully, we wake up to the fact that, okay, there's more depth to it. And this journey is mapped out for us. And there's no destination, there's no arrival. And that's the beauty of it. Because most of us are looking, our brain is programmed like that, to look for solutions, to solve problems. And we want the easiest path of least resistance. And that's not how excellence works. I mean, success. So one of my mentors says, success is getting there. Excellence is staying there. Those are 2 different things. So what I'm looking for is excellence, not success.
Yeah. Now that you touched on it, I was going to ask you, what resonates for you? Is it perfection or is it excellence?
It's excellence. There's no perfection. Perfection is an illusion that we created in our society. There is no perfection, and us latching to that idea of what we're going to feel like when we get to a certain point. I mean, desire is a great driver. It can be a great driver, but if you look at the vibration, the frequency of desire, it's pretty low. It's pretty low. It's even, I believe, it's almost lower than anger. So desire is not a high vibration feeling and emotion. So that's the interesting thing. And back to the body image, and I know that we're bombarded, especially women. I feel so. It's horrendous how bombarded we are with how we're supposed to look like. Yeah. And that's the thing. If we focus on the outcome, we're going to be miserable throughout our lives. But if we focus on input and celebrating those inputs and actually get obsessed with the inputs that are going to move us forward, the outcome is going to come as a byproduct.
Beautiful. So, Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
It's a really beautiful thought. So you you touched on recognizing like the point in your journey. Also, I think you kind of tied it to NLP, where you started recognizing your own limiting beliefs and some patterns. Could you give an example of perhaps some of the limiting beliefs you used to have, and now some of the sort of like more healthy ones that you carry and are serving you better?
Absolutely. So first of all is, I think most of the population shares this one, that you're not good enough. And that has come from, again, my conditioning, my upbringing, so many things. Just questioning yourself if that's funny. A funny thing is, it probably has brought me to the work that I do right now, the optimization. Because, hey, I'm not good enough. How do I optimize this? So it came in the beginning. It maybe came from that angle of lack. Yeah. Now it's coming from the angle of abundance. So it just shifted the approach. So that energy that was invested before, it was drive, again, desire, anger, maybe a little bit as well. Now it's more purpose. It's love. It's peace. It's balance, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it simply shifted, and I believe that the easiest thing really is to another thing is us not acknowledging ourselves enough. That was me included, and still is me included. I'm actually doing a little challenge that I learned from I believe it was the guy who wrote Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mirror exercise where you're standing in front of the mirror, you're stating your name, and you're acknowledging yourself for certain accomplishments throughout the day, for your brilliance, because we're all brilliant for the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. So actually giving yourself that credit and then looking yourself straight in the eye and saying, I really love you. That's something that sounded so foreign to me. Like, love yourself. What is that? You have to beat yourself up. You have to challenge yourself. You know, you have to whip yourself, and that's the only way you're gonna be moving forward. And this, as cliche as this sounds, and that again, that really hit me pretty recently. Actually, it's like you're only capable to love somebody else as much as you love yourself. And I really do believe I wanted to land because I, excuse me, I really believe in the power of cliches. Because if we actually sit with those cliches that we heard so many times, our brain is simply looking for shortcuts, and it tells us, "Oh, I know that." Like, do you know that, or do you experience that? Do you do that? Because I know that those are probably the most dangerous words in the English language. So knowing is not. If you intellectually experience that, if you intellectually grasp it, it's completely different from wisdom, which is implementing that into your life. I went on that tangent.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's really landing. I'm curious, actually, what's your perspective on spirituality versus science? And the reason why I'm asking is because what I'm hearing, it's a very well sort of like grounded language that might almost sound quite metaphysical and spiritual. And I know that you're doing your vipassana at the moment, like you incorporate a lot of meditation, and it feels like you're very much in that space. But then I also see you're obviously obsessed with, the science of nutrition and how the body functions. And I see you with these like interesting tools on your face and body, which we will talk about more. So yeah, what's your perspective on the two?
The thing is that intellectually, not all things can be explained. If you meditated, if you were in deep meditation, if you experience plant medicine journeys and stuff like that, those experiences cannot be boiled down, cannot be intellectualized. And that's the beauty of it. So there is science, unfortunately, the way we treat science is through a reductionist lens. We try to boil things down. We kind of try to isolate one piece of a massive puzzle.
Right.
And that's not how it works. Like, we're multidimensional. That's why my approach to a human's body is multidimensional. I don't just take fitness, just take nutrition, just take stress, or we take all of it. Because all of it matters. And when it's working in unison, that's when that optimization happens. So there is, they perfectly intertwine. That's the beauty of it. They perfectly intertwine, and because science is so imperfect, but at the same time, so that layer of spirituality and metaphysical views, if you will, they actually work together. They're not against each other. It's like you don't have to. Again, intellectual mind, our brain, our intellectual conscious mind is capable of so little as compared to our subconscious. So, and we all understand that.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's really interesting. The other interesting thing that I sort of caught around the things that you talk about is your approach to pain. That I find really unique. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
For sure. That's something that I learned from David, who's leading the Vipassana meditation and then bringing it online now. He said that pain is just one layer of sensation. So there are certain sensations. The deeper we go, the more we're able to feel the whole array of different sensations, rather than being attached to the binary approach that most of us have developed in the modern world, where this is pleasure, so it's good. This is pain, it's bad, and that's it. It's more than that. It's like you only have chocolate and vanilla flavors for ice cream, and they're hazelnut, pecan, and all the other stuff, right? And the beautiful thing with pain is that the closer you get to it, the more friendly it becomes, if you will. Because if we are just going to that threshold where we're about to back away, we're gonna keep touching it, kind of feeling it, but not fully experiencing it, rather than going towards it and actually surrendering to that another layer of sensation, and then not to say to overcome it, but you are able to taste it. It's like obviously me pinching something, or you're probably referring to the surgery that I had.
Yeah, I am. And I have my own story as well, which was like super fascinating, very similar to what you talked about.
And that's such a beautiful thing to experience that pain, because pain we associate it with that, right? We associate it with negative emotion, negative sensation. It's not positive nor negative. It's just pain. As Buddha said, sensations as sensations. Take them as they come rather than labeling them. Pain only becomes painful once you label it as bad. That's it.
Right. So what's the coping mechanism for
being present?
Right.
Being present, again, utilizing the power of your breath. And I'm not saying distracting yourself. It's not a distraction per se. Right. You are feeling that. It's just you're not labeling pain as a negative emotion or negative sensation. That's it.
Yeah. I find this really fascinating because a lot of people, tend to try to avoid pain, not just on a physical level, but also in forms of like avoiding conflict, for example. And that is very much associated with, being prone to burning out, like not being able to say no, not being able to oppose someone, and wanting to avoid conflict because there's pain in that. So how could you see this sort of being applied if people are giving themselves the permission to go into the conflict and things start getting really painful and really uncomfortable? Like what could you see could work in that scenario?
So it's every emotion and every sensation needs kind of to accomplish itself, to finish itself. It has a cycle. So imagine every emotion and every sensation, every feeling, emotion, and sensation has a cycle that needs to be fulfilled. If we stop somewhere in the middle, that sensation, emotion, or feeling is going to look for an opportunity to complete itself somewhere in your life.
Right.
So if we don't fully feel through it, and if we hold whether something, the argument or resentment or you name it, that's going to come out in a not so desired way sometime in the future. And the more we pile those up, the more we bottle those up inside of us, the uglier it's going to be. I'm very painfully familiar with that, so I'm talking directly from my experience.
Right, yeah. So are you saying that if we choose to not go into conflict and allow ourselves to fully experience what's there, the sensation will stay inside of us and until there will be some other opportunity?
Sure. So some, I guess, in conflict, not necessarily. It's less of us going into conflict or not. It's less. It's more of us actually expressing what we really feel.
Right.
So if we suppress the feeling, the conflict might trigger that feeling, and if we don't express that feeling, we're simply going to bottle it up, and then it's going to manifest in different ways, rather than speaking out truth and not being. Again, I'm scared. I'm afraid. at times to express my feelings, express my emotions. It's raw, it's uncomfortable, and I still shy away from some of them from time to time. But every time you face them, it becomes easier to do it next time, and the next time, and the next time. And the more truthful you are to yourself, the more genuine you are to yourself, that others are going to recognize that. You just have that peace going with you, as that's the only way I could describe that.
Beautiful. I can see that peace on your face as you said it. It's like fully embodied. Beautiful. Yeah. I'd like to move now towards what you do and look at those things a little bit more. So I guess like my first question, like what was really interesting from what you said was that a lot of people are, you know, like trying to sort of like get away from this like external way of motivating yourself and sort of validating yourself and kind of like internalize that process in you. So how do you, I hear a lot of people say that, you know, they feel demotivated, like burnout, for example, is associated with that. And a lot of us think, you know, like we're at the point in our lives when we lost our purpose. So with all that we know about ourselves, about the human, and you know how it all really works in terms of what's the most efficient way of doing it, and for you, I'm guessing it's the internal sort of conversation that you're having. What do you think is the most useful way to get people from that point where they have been really externalizing all of that purpose, all of that motivation, and they're feeling stuck? They come to you, you know, after having had sessions with their PT, and it's like it hasn't really been working. They're still not happy with their body and all that stuff. How can they find that inner practice?
That's a beautiful thing that you said that, because it is an inner practice. Like the whole meat suit, taking care of that is so easy. I mean, that's the easiest thing to do. Honestly, that's like the quickest fix. But when it comes to this and that, that's where real work begins.
Right.
You know, just like it is funny how you know, taking care of our body. Usually, I ask people. Sometimes they come to me and they say, "Hey, I want to reach 6% body fat." Like, why 6? Why is that important to you? And then once we start unpacking, it's like that number is so trivial. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
What they actually want is certain validation, possibly. They want to feel a certain way, and it's like if you get to that 6%, it's like getting to it again. Back to success and excellence. Getting to it, great, you achieved it, you're successful. But are you going to maintain that and achieve excellence? And if not, then what's the point? So that's the prism that I take every single decision of mine. Now, is this actually going to align with my bigger purpose? Is this a stepping stone, or is this a distraction? Am I going wider, or am I going deeper?
Right.
If I'm going wider, I don't need to go wider at this point. I only need to go deeper. So that's what I choose. And for internal process, again, this meat suit is the easiest part to
I love that you call it meat suit, by the way.
It is.
So
It truly is. And however, again, it works. Again, it works in unison. It works in collaboration. So first, if I were to, from the optimization standpoint, really, I treat this meat suit as a battery. So we have, for example, there are so many amazing health practices. And from fasting to exercise to saunas to, you know, cold exposure, all of which I do. However, all of them are stressors. Like there are certain stressors on your body. And the more of, so for example, if you have stress in your life, that already subtracts quite a bit of that battery. If you're fasting, that's another layer. And then you deplete that battery, and at the end of the day, you your adrenals, the deeper level of your meat suit, is getting actually going into the negative, rather than I was like, oh, I'm doing all these good things.
Yeah.
But those good things are stressors, and when they add up, so we have to be very aware. And again, that takes years and years and years to understand how your body responds to it.
Yeah.
So that's the first layer of it. And the second layer, that internal dialogue for purpose and motivation. I don't think, again, my mentor says this, that, hey, motivation is for amateurs. Pros don't need motivation. And people who actually, I don't believe in losing your purpose. I think that that purpose has never been discovered fully. So if you sit down, the easiest exercise that I give to my clients in the beginning is writing out. I'm pretty sure I learned this from the OG of the personal development, Jim Rohn. Might have been Brian Tracy as well. Anyway, writing out 50 things that you would like to accomplish in your lifetime. Write out 50 things, and whether it's relationship goals, bucket list items, material possessions, whatever, and write 1, 3, 5, or 10 next to it. That meaning in years. How many years is it going to take to accomplish it realistically? And then boil down those buckets of 1, 3, 5, and 10 years into 3 to 5 items, and write in depth of why that's important, how that's going to change your life, what would happen if you did not accomplish those, and you're going to get very damn clear. If you do this exercise, which is going to take a few hours, you're going to get really damn clear on why that's important, how that's important, and then we can go from there. We can go to the next step, how to get to that point. So yeah, it's that simple. Beautiful.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think it's like, sometimes it feels a little bit like a chicken and egg with the body and the mind. I wanted to ask you, I think you're the perfect person to answer that, like, what comes first? Because our mind is so powerful, and there are all of these beliefs that are stored in there. But then, you know, the body, you said that's one of the easiest things to do, to kind of optimize the body. Can we also use the body to kind of kickstart the mind and to change the mind, rather than waiting for the mind to start changing, you know, consciously, and then to reflect that on the body?
Absolutely. That's why for most people, as I said, there is like the levels of sophistication. So recognizing a lot of practitioners in medicine or fitness, wellness, holistic healing, what have you, they meet their client at the wrong, they're misaligned.
Yeah.
So they're here while their client is there. So it's recognizing where that client is. Sometimes I'm simply going to start with getting some momentum through bodily wins. And then, I feel more energetic. I feel less stressed. Oh, this breath work that you taught me, it was like diaphragmatically breathing, that actually calms me down. It's like, they're just simple things.
Yeah.
And when you take a person who has no background in it, then they move forward very rapidly. And then once they kind of say, okay, so my body's fine, and then they realize it clicks. It's like, oh, there's more to it. And once they recognize that, it's like, okay, we got tools.
Yeah.
We got more tools, and it's a never-ending journey, and that's the beauty of it. And helping them recognize that, hey, this is not something that, like, I don't like giving people the fish. I like teaching them how to do that. Because I'm not going to be on their side for the rest of their lives. So simply giving them the framework, the principles to take care of their body and mind and master it themselves and maintain that for the rest of their life. That's my goal. Because once again, I'm not going to be holding their hand and walking with them for the rest of their lives. And that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge, because unfortunately, we just look for those quick fix solutions, tactical answers, rather than applying principles to our life.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm having so many questions, but I also am aware of the ones that I prepared, and I really want to, as you said, we're going to go down rabbit holes. Like what came to mind immediately was codependency, because there's so much of this in our world, and you as someone who wants to empower people rather than handhold them the whole time.
People want to be led. That's a fact. People want to be led because, again, of the subconscious patterns and programming that they have experienced, and they don't feel worthy of leading themselves.
Right.
And my goal is ultimately to establish that leadership for yourself. Because until you're capable of leading yourself at a capacity where you're taking care of yourself and mastering yourself, you're not able to do that for others. And there's a process for that.
It's not easy. It takes a lot of trial and error.
Not at all. Yeah. And again, I've been trialing and erroring for the past decade through this, and it's something, and I still am. Yet I believe that I'm at the point where I know the system. I know if I get off balance, I'm gonna bounce back within a few minutes rather than a few hours, or a few hours rather than a few days. And that process is just getting more and more and more condensed. So, and having those tools in your arsenal and moving through life with them, that's invaluable.
Epic. That's what I also notice about myself, that it's like those cycles are getting shorter and shorter, and it's just becoming faster basically to overcome it. But we can't really avoid it. Like sometimes, you have to kind of get really close to that edge to be able to kind of bounce back.
Or not. Like when you're thinking about the phone, for example, like every new release of the phone, it's not any better.
No.
It's not really, like the principle is the same. It's just a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient, a little bit like the pictures are of higher quality. That's it. Same with our bodies and our minds. If we take that as it's simply development, fixing the bugs, and just updating the software. Same thing. We don't have to get to the point of burnout or just fatigue or chronic fatigue or disease in order for us to update that software. So we don't have to buy a new phone.
What I'm wondering about though is like, okay, let's use this phone analogy, right? How do you maintain high performance? And you're training people for high performance without burning out, what if there is a need for a software update, but the phone, the body is not strong enough, for example? Or, how do you even recognize that you mentioned a couple of these stressors that you're getting close to that edge, for example? Is it even possible to be highly performing, be on top of your game all the time without burning out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why ultimately high performance is not just, once again, getting there. It's staying there. It's sustaining that level of performance, because it's a beautiful thing. Like we think that high performance and staying on top of your game means that you're grinding 24/7. That is not possible.
So what's the truth?
Yeah, the truth is that a part of high performance is recovery as well. Like we are investing. Why am I sitting 10 hours? Why am I sitting 10 hours a day for 10 days? Over 100 hours of sitting in meditation. Well, because I'm investing my time to upgrade my software. Because I'm investing my time, I know it's going to pay off and actually allow me to sustain that level of high performance moving forward. That's it. It's just an investment that I'm making, a little app that I'm installing in an app store that I pay for.
Amazing. Love it. That brings me to perhaps some of the tools and techniques that you're using, for yourself and with your clients as well. Could you speak about those a little bit?
Absolutely. So
your favorite, the hacks, everything.
All the hacks. You see, the hacks are useless. So when it comes to data, I think it was Seth Godin who said, if data that you're tracking and following, if the data that you're collecting is not acted upon, don't collect it. For example, this ring, it's called Aura Ring. It just tracks my sleep patterns, it tracks my activity levels and rest and all that kind of stuff. I utilize this data to make adjustments. If I see that I'm fatigued, that my body's not recovering properly, I'm adjusting my inputs, I'm adjusting my bedtimes, I'm adjusting maybe the supplements that I take. And at this point, I have the arsenal of, just tweaking stuff and adjusting that. Like it happens automatically. And that's what I teach human beings, to become masters of their body and their mind, to understand, okay, this is what I'm able to withstand. These are the inputs that are non-negotiable, that have to be a part of your routine, and that my approach is minimal effective dose. So I don't want, again, you overthrowing your lifestyle with whatever it is that we're doing. I want you to integrate that, and that it's not going to take hours and hours on end. It's going to take that minimal input to get your desired outcome in the most straightforward way.
Right.
Yeah. So that's ultimately the whole thing. That's optimization, rather than just investing. Again, for example, some people might not want to spend 100 hours meditating because that, for them, they don't see the investment. They don't see the return on that investment. I do. So depending on the value systems and just kind of intertwining it all together, it's a complex machine, right? But once you kind of follow structure and evaluate every single area of your life, and you're able to optimize it, it's a beautiful journey.
Amazing. Yeah. Talk to me about some of those tools, because you look really fit, and I see you in the sauna, like you're in a spa center and stuff like that, and you're talking about meditation. So obviously you don't get fit just by sitting and being in the sauna. So what do you utilize for yourself, and also including the nutrition, and maybe talk about some of those devices that you're using too. I love the ring idea as well. Like, what's some of this like smart tech, or it almost looks like medical equipment what you're using.
Right. Some of it is.
Yeah. What is that?
I geeked out on a lot of things, from nootropics to peptides to stem cell therapies to stuff like that, to anti-aging stuff. That's like my passion. I just love geeking out on all of it. And when it comes to exercise, I found the minimal effective dose that allows me to maintain and the desired physique that is, and my body keeps my body capable of accomplishing things that I want to accomplish. Because at this point, I'm not working out for or stressing my body and challenging my body for to climb my own personal Mount Everest. I'm looking for functionality, not for anything else.
Yeah.
So at this point, simply stressing my body a few times a week with lifting something heavy, picking up and putting down heavy things, doing something explosive, then maintaining my heart health. So I have a little walking treadmill desk where ultimately while I'm working, I'm walking on it. And so movement over exercise. Movement is our food, and exercise is our supplement. That's something that the principle that I've been following. And again, I don't want to dive too deeply into the tactical solutions, but that's once you kind of recognize your movement patterns and how we can optimize that, you get automation, just automating, integrating into life. Nutrition is simple. I mean, if you just start with whole foods that are as close to their natural state as possible, unrefined and processed, just coming from good quality sources, organic, if animal products that are grass-fed, grass-finished, that's it. That's a good place to start. And that's a fundamental overarching principle. Then we can get into tactical, like macronutrients, all that kind of stuff. That just very few people need that. Very few people need that. Because it's not sustainable, it's not desirable to sustain. Then all the devices. So cryotherapy, I do cryotherapy pretty much daily. I do hyperbaric oxygen therapy about twice a week, sensory deprivation for deeper meditative states on a weekly basis. And all that stuff, if you have access to it, it's great. It's helpful. It allows you to take it to the next level, but it's not necessary. If it actually causes you a lot of stress to drive there, or to find that spot that is going to be, that you have to just invest 30 plus minutes of your time, it's not worth it. Even with exercise, I refuse to invest more than 3 hours a week exercising. That's 3 hours is on the higher end already. So so it's just finding, okay, this is because what works for me, all those devices, I have little tools, I try to combine as many as possible.
Yeah.
From photobiomodulation, where it's the red lights in my nose, to recovery device that optimizes my sleep, to supplements, to other stuff that, again, like, that works for my body. It's not necessarily going to work for yours or anybody else's. And depending on your lifestyle, we kind of have to gear it towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I have two more questions, and one is directly related to this. There's been a lot of new research around our, different human cycles, like the discovery of the infradian rhythm, which is more associated with women's cycles and the moon cycles. Yeah, the hormones. We know about the circadian, like you're talking about sleep cycles and different patterns, and things that we can simply like look at as different cycles that our bodies go through and patterns that we can observe. But at the same time, so we have like men and women, and then we have like certain age categories of people, and people with different lifestyles. So I guess there might be a way to categorize and figure out that, okay, if you belong to this group, this is what you should do. Is that something that you recommend for people, or are you kind of promoting the idea that every single body and human mechanism is unique and you just need to connect with that?
There are a lot of moving parts. So as I said, there are principles for that apply across the board for every single human being. And then I found that with no fail, every single human being needs these things. And then we establish those. Once those are established, that foundation is built. It's like getting into tactical solutions and recommending certain devices or other tech to human beings when they don't have the foundation. It's like building a house without, or picking the paint of the house before you even built it, or trying to paint the walls before you even built it. So it doesn't make sense. So we first want to establish that foundation, and when that foundation is there, because biohacking, that's another, like, a very sexy term that is being bastardized at this point, because I'm a biohacker, I just went out drinking last weekend and now I'm getting an IV to recover from hangover quickly. That's not biohacking. That's just that is not biohacking. And biohacking is ultimately using the tools and that technology to optimize your output. And recovering from hangover is not output optimization, it's recovery. So it's different.
Yeah, beautiful.
And so first of all, we want to build that foundation, and then on a case-by-case basis, then we have age groups, we have hormonal groups, we have unique bodies and unique predispositions that we can work through. But it's ridiculous to me when people go right after that, as I said, trying to paint the walls of the house when it's not even built yet. It's absurd.
Yeah. I think we see a lot of this, like, people eating protein powders and just doing things because the celebrities are doing them, or they see someone with muscles thinking that that's what's going to happen to them too.
And that's back to sophistication, and that's what marketing has ultimately, like, hijacked. We are associating certain products or tools with certain outcomes. But if we actually, I have 3 questions that I ask usually. Like, what am I doing? What is this doing to me? And is that okay? And once you kind of go through that spectrum and you ask those 3 questions, you kind of realize, okay, this is probably not doing, not giving me the desired outcome that I want.
Yeah. That's so smart. Yeah, I think you even refer to this whole kind of science as smart fitness. I see it as a conscious fitness or something along those lines.
Sure.
Just really understanding it.
Yeah, understanding your body, understanding the inputs that are necessary, that are going to challenge your body, that are going to push your body and then create desired outcomes, and then making tweaks according to that. Like, if I know that I want to put on some muscle mass, I'm going to do this a little bit more stuff with weights. If I want to optimize my heart health, I'm going to do this kind of cardio exercise, and
Yeah.
this is the most optimal way of doing it. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for bringing all of this knowledge around body and the mind to, you know, in this conversation about burnout, because I think it's really important to understand that we can, because burnout is really about trying to overcompensate, improve, and all these things are coming from, you know, it's this little voice in our head that's telling us when we don't even realize I'm not good enough, which in many cases could be our parent or teacher or whatever. So I feel like everything that you're talking about is just this like creating a really deep connection with your body and your whole sort of organism to be really conscious about what's serving you, what's not serving you,
Precisely.
and optimizing towards that.
Precisely, being aware of the inputs that you're consciously making, and then recognizing the unconscious ones and making them conscious, and analyzing if that's creating your desired outcome, and then tweaking it all. That's optimization.
Yeah, beautiful. Sounds like a very deep self-love and self-respect. Yeah.
Multidimensional.
Yeah,
Hey.
it's beautiful. Yeah. My very last question is, one of the things that you said that really caught my interest was that we need more optimized and high-performing people. So my question is, why? What happens when we have all these high-performing people? What opportunity do you see in that? You kind of touched on it by saying that there's this spillover effect on the people around us. So I want to go even one layer beyond that, which is, what if we have this like whole earth of high-performing individuals? What do you see in that?
Oh goodness, I see a beautiful world.
Ah, yes.
No, absolutely. I mean, the world is beautiful as it is, right? Yet, when we're improving, when we're growing, when we're evolving, we're simply encouraging others on the journey with us. And once we reach that point of that level of consciousness, understanding, and mastery of self, then it doesn't get in the way of us fulfilling our deeper purpose. So that's when we're truly optimized, when we understand ourselves at a higher level, we remove all these interferences to go for the things that actually matter. And if everybody does that, I mean, what else is there to desire then?
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much. That was a really nice thought to leave us with.
Pleasure.
Thank you for making the time for the interview, even right in the middle of your Vipassana experience. And
that's the thing. If I can't carry it over to real worlds, then what's the point of doing it?
Beautiful. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.